Yes, people, welcome to another Spurs Web Live. Look, disappointing result. Are we very surprised? Probably not. But you know what? At the end of the day, Spurs have let us down again. Top four was definitely something we could have achieved today and got into and really get back into that race, but wasn't meant to be. Newcastle 2, Tottenham 2. It was just disappointing. We've got two new guests on the channel today. Jacob from United Spurs of America. How you doing, my friend? You good?
Other than feeling absolutely gutted, with top four now not a reality currently, but other than that, still felt like we showed some offensive prowess. There were a few bright spots, and we'll jump into that. But for me personally, just a little disappointed. Felt like we could have gone up 3-1 there for a while and missed opportunities.
Disappointing, very disappointing, and obviously a fellow Spurs web writer, Harry. How are you doing, my friend?
Yeah, good. Obviously disappointed, but not surprised, unfortunately, as well.
Yeah, I know. Look, I've said it. I said it before. I wouldn't be surprised if we go and win, but at the end of the day, I wouldn't be surprised if we go and mess it up again. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just one of those games where Spurs have a tendency to just slip up in, and it's a perfect opportunity today was to go and get those 3 points. And then we got United, and then that's a big game. We see what happens then. But Spurs decide, look, you know what, 2-1 up, last 10. I mean, the second half was awful. We'll definitely get into it. But I want to start with your thoughts on the performance in general. I'll start with you, Jacob. Just sum it up for me, just briefly, because I find it hard to sum, because I've just seen it so many times over and over again. It's just disappointing.
There's a turn of phrase here in the States called a trap game, right? And coming into this, I really felt like there was a huge chance of that to happen. You have Steve Bruce, his job's kind of on the line. They're facing a relegation zone for the first time this season. I think that coming into this, it was a chance for, I think you alluded to a Spursy moment. So, for me, I was definitely, I'm a positive person. I try to not think like that. I try to not think that the worst is going to happen. But unfortunately, time and time again, I'm proven wrong and my faith is tested.
Yeah, we've got loads of comments here. Thanks for everyone who tuned in. I know it is difficult with Spurs just continuously letting us down. We've got one here from Tom who says our midfield is good, our attack is good, but there's no confidence in our back line. Gone are the days of Jan and Toby. We need a left-footed defender who can defend. Harry, back four today it was painful to watch. I mean, we've got loads of comments coming in about it just being, clueless, and we just don't look confident. No one looks like... And I like Tanganga and I like Roden and Reguilon's a good defender, but it just doesn't seem to be gelling. I don't know what it is. Where do you sit with our back four? And what do we need to do to get this team defending?
With Reguilon, I think he's been out and you can tell he wasn't on top form today. I'm going to give him a pass in terms of the fact that obviously he has been out injured. He's not been active. I think he did come back maybe too early. Maybe, I don't know. It's your opinion, I suppose, whether he's back too early. But he's obviously a quality defender, one of our better players. We know that. He's someone we're going to keep. We love him. So, apart from that. Sanchez, there's only so many times you can say the same thing over and over. He's just not good enough, and that's the bottom line of it. Technically, he's not good enough. Lapses in concentration are all too often. And I think he has... This is the thing with Sanchez. If he goes somewhere like Italy, I think he'll be all right. I think it's a different type of football they play out there. I think he would be all right. But if we're pushing top four constantly, he cannot be anywhere near our team, and that's the be all and end all. And I think he does need to go in the summer. Roden, early days still. It wasn't his best performance, clear to see. But again, early days, I think he's one of those players that I wouldn't mind having him in the squad, but he can't be starting for a top four side at the moment. At the moment, I don't think he's quite there. Again, with Tanganga, great potential, obviously a good player, but he's just not. He can't be starting if we're making that top four push week in, week out. As you say, they just didn't gel and they weren't good enough today.
Mate, it's so frustrating, and I've alluded to this point plenty of times before, right? Sanchez had a career in Colombia as a youth player, played a few years there, went to Europe for 1 year, and Spurs decided to spend, after his first season at Ajax in Europe, which is not a fantastic league in itself, let's go and splash 40 million on him. It don't make sense to me. At least let him. At least if you keep an eyes on him, let him have a few more years in Europe or whatever, and let him develop. I mean, even Jose Mourinho targeted him in Europa League final, and Spurs go and sign him. It don't make any sense.
I was going to say that. I think I remember against Man United in the final. you could tell he was their weak link.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of not sure where our jump has gone from. He's in the Champions League, the final of the Europa League, fair enough. Mourinho's targeted him. We've gone, I don't know, we'll splash out on him. I just think it was a very rushed decision. They looked at his natural physical abilities and kind of presumed that he would work well. It's just not worked out how we hoped. So,
yeah, no, it's so frustrating. But Jacob, do you think that obviously going to that first goal now that Newcastle scored, such poor defending? Sanchez, plays it straight to a Newcastle player. Back four's obviously not in a good shape because they're playing out from the back. So Reguilón's far out wide. Rodon's on the other side almost, and it was just poor, man. What did you think of that, the goal conceded? Because it was just such poor defending, wasn't it?
It unfortunately was. After seeing the starting lineup, I'm a big Japhet Tanganga fan, and so seeing him at starting right back was something I was calling for. On our last podcast, I was talking about Joe Rodon. He needs all the starts he can get. He needs all the time. To me, he has a very high ceiling. He's a very physical player. He's very commanding presence for such a young guy. That I was really excited for this lineup. Kind of disappointed that it turned out the way it did. I thought Tanganga had a really good first half. But if we're talking about Davinson Sanchez, I have here in the 3rd minute there was a turnover that he literally just passed to the Newcastle guy in stride and forcing Hugo to make a save. I also saw that, Rodon, he did have some mistakes. He looked like he had played 3 international games. And what was it? He had in the 17th minute that almost led to a goal. Hugo had that amazing double save. And I was like, okay, Hugo's going to keep us in this. This is going to be a classic Hugo Lloris performance. And he really did avoid a loss here, but it's just very unfortunate, very disappointing to see. I don't have anything positive really to say towards Sanchez, other than in the first half, I did write down there was a nice defensive stand by him. So there's that. But, when you look at in the 3rd minute and in the 18th minute and several times in the second half that he just continually plays a bad ball and doesn't matter if it's forward or backward. I think the MLS is waiting.
MLS.
I'm just going to put it that way.
That is one league that would be disrespectful, but the MLS. But that's the thing though, man. Like, I just felt like Rodon and Sanchez, it was like they're crossing into Joe Linton and Dwight Gale, and I never saw one of them sort of take responsibility and mark them. It was like they didn't have an organised, I'll mark him, you mark him, or I mark the space, you mark Joe Linton. It just wasn't organised, and that's why they had so much joy, pinging it to the far post, and Tanganga and Reguilón were being, aerially beaten so many times. It's just frustrating. We got a comment here saying we need to splash the cash for 2 new big defenders, Skriniar, Varane, Koundé, but I see we're linked with the likes of Dunk. To be honest with you, mate, I don't see us splashing the cash on 2 big defenders. We know what the club are like with money and stuff.
I'll take one. Just give me one.
Do you get what I mean? But we need a massive rebuild this summer. Will it happen? How many times are we saying we need a massive rebuild? Probably every season, no? Do you get what I'm trying to say? Like, it's just the same old.
I think the idea of a rebuild is it's a myth in a way. I think you get this kind of, we're going to have this massive rebuild, we'll clear the club out of all the deadwood, spend millions. But if you're looking at this from a realistic point of view with the people we have in upstairs, it's just not going to happen. You're never going to clear out 10 players like we need to, and then bring in 6 or 7 players, which is what we realistically need. I want to hope that we can, in the next couple of seasons, clear out all the deadwood we don't need, and then, gradually bring in the players we want. But I just can't see it happening currently. I just can't see the full rebuild coming along.
It's a conversation we could have for probably hours on here. It's just one of those topics that can go so in depth. So we won't touch on it too much. But it's a tough one, isn't it? Dreadnatty says there is 0 chance they get 2 defenders. We are lucky to get 1. It's certainly one that's tough, and you know what? Do we get a big defender in the summer? I don't know. Or do we go for someone like a Lewis Dunk? Or do you get what I'm trying to say? That sort of a little bit underwhelming. It's not quite that marquee sort of top, proper leader. Do you know what I mean? And I know Dunk is okay, but is he the level that we really want? Is he really going to make such a drastic effect on the team. I don't entirely think so.
I think you sign someone like Skriniar, you pair him with a young guy like Joe Rodon, who's already shown that he can lead in some form or fashion, similar to kind of how Højbjerg played into it. I think you get a solid center half to pair with him. I think that he can grow. He can only get better from where he's at now, in my opinion. I think that a rebuild sounds a little extreme for me. If I was maybe Southampton, who climbed to the top and now we're still in the middle. I mean, we're still fighting for top 4. I'm a positive person. I refuse to believe that we were not going to, come home with the quadruple until I pretty much had to face the facts that we were out of the FA Cup. Man City is kind of taken off a top spot there, and for me, I just never gave up hope, I guess you could say. Hopeless romantic when it comes to Spurs football, but it's I think you get one solid center back. You pair him with the young guys, and I think that kind of satisfies both worlds of, hey, we want to rebuild, move forward with the young. You bring Ollie Skip back from Norwich. He's shown great promise. I think you start putting him into the rotation. You show the signs of, hey, we have young and we signed a veteran guy. I think that pleases everybody. I hate to see anyone come in on Gareth Bale wages and contribute Gareth Bale numbers. So that part's unfortunate, but I think that'll free up some money once he goes back to Madrid. And
No, I don't want to keep it too negative because I can talk about the negatives all day long. But one of the positives I thought today was a little bit more bright was Giovanni Lo Celso. I thought he was a little bit more involved today. He seemed a little bit more intelligent on the ball. Played a great through pass for Kane's first. Caused a little bit more trouble than he did against Aston Villa. What do you think about it, Harry? Is he a player that you kind of like? Because I know he does polarize, kind of change his opinion across the fan base, and he's a player that. It's a bit of a love-hate relationship with him because he's been so stop and start. But what do you think of Lo Celso?
I really like it. I think he's a quality player. I really do. Technically on the ball, he's one of the best in the club. I mean, obviously you've got the likes of Ndombele, who's just on the ball is far and above anyone I've seen at the club in a few years. But he just brings something that in the middle that you don't get with players like Bale. Bale's obviously quality, Son is quality, but I think when you've got him picking up pockets in space, just that kind of extra touch he can take sometimes, it can annoy me a little bit, but he's a very good player. I'd love to see him stay at the club. Obviously, injuries are a big issue with him, but it is what it is. You either stick with him in those injuries or you don't. But as I said, I really like him. I think he's a good player, and I think we can only see him improve. I think he will get better as he comes back from his injury. You've got to remember, 3 months is a long time to be out.
Yeah, it is,
he was out for a long time, and he's just coming back into the football. And as you say, it wasn't a complete performance, and it won't be, but there was moments in there where you thought, I can see him developing over the next, last couple of games over the season. And then hopefully that only pushes on to next season when he can improve.
To piggyback on what you're saying there, I agree. There were several times there in the first half where Lo Celso, in his mind, it looked like he was thinking creatively with over the top balls. Unfortunately, the first 3 that I had saw were turnovers, but I think his mind's there. But like you alluded to, I think he's still a little rusty. He's coming back from a pretty long time of not being out there, frankly. And so I think mentally, I agree. I think Lo Celso has a lot of upside. It's unfortunate. It's almost Lamella syndrome that he's facing. I think the Argentinian hamstrings but I don't know what it is. I've always liked Lo Celso. I think he has a lot of creative offensive play when it comes to. We lack that creativity there in the in the front, and I think that he only helps add to that. I think Ndombele coming back and playing with Højbjerg is great in everything, but in my opinion, I think that playing more of a number 10 role would suit Ndombele better. In my opinion.
No, I see where you're coming from. I wonder what you guys think about Lamella. It's just one of those topics. It's one of those topics that I sigh at because it's one of those players that show heart, show pride, show passion, but is his quality there? I don't know. His intensity that he brings is fantastic, but can you rely on him for a full season? And when you're a squad player, for me, one of the most important aspects is that you're fit, throughout the whole season. So when the squad needs to rely on you, because you're a squad player, we can call upon you. But with Lamela, I don't find that being a thing for him, because he's always injured throughout the season. So again, it's a tough one, but I feel like it's time for us to have a refresh of players like that. It's been far too long. It's just, what has it been, like 8 years? I mean, we sold Lamela. Obviously, we sold Bale. Sorry, bought in Lamela, and we bought Bale back. Yeah. For me, that says everything.
He's just not had a desired effect at all. I mean, when you look back at the signings that we've made with that Bale money, you can pinpoint exactly who we looked to replace him, and that was Lamela. It was the only one who fit the exact build who you were looking for. Yeah. I love Lamela. I think he's got desire, passion more than anyone at the club, and I'm never going to doubt that about him. But at some point, you need the quality and the consistency.
Yeah,
it's too. If you're a team like Man City, for example, if someone's not up to, they will sign someone else straight away, and they will replace the problem.
Yeah,
and I think if you're going for Champions Leagues, Premier Leagues, even for us top fours, cup finals, you need to be ruthless. Yeah. With who you keep around squad. I think you made a perfect point. Squad players are there to be called upon when needed, and you can never be 100% sure of Lamela if he's going to be there, if ever. I think we're a bit too sentimental. I just think we are a bit too sentimental.
No, we are. Yeah.
Going back to Lamela, it ties in perfectly with the comment you pulled up. I think that if he plays a better ball in there to Son, like I said, we're up 3-1. This is a whole different ball game, and we're probably talking with a little bit more smile and happiness. But it's just so frustrating, because I was like, please don't Eric Lamela this. Whenever I saw him on that breakaway with Son to his right, Harry Kane, love Harry Kane, and he put it all out there, ran, and he got the ball. But to me, you play that ball sooner to Son on the right, give him a little left foot shot, he's going to curl that right in. And it's unfortunate he was unable to do that. But I do love Eric Lamela for the fact that he does fight for the badge. I think when it comes to players, you can't ask for much more than that, and fitness, like you said. The fitness factor is, I mean, if this is 8 year and the amount that he's contributed in 8 years, I think, like you said, a refresh of those players would be good for this squad. I love Eric Lamela. I don't want to say, hey, refresh this player. I think he fights, same as Lucas Moura. It's like, technically, do I think that he's going to be the X factor for us? He can be, but more often than not, he's not going to be. But he fights for the badge. And to me, I think that speaks a lot to a player. It shows that he's willing to fight for Jose Mourinho. I think if you saw last year when Jose came in, he highly preferred Moura and Lamela in his lineup. And I kept wondering, why not Dele Alli? Why not, these other players that I wanted to see? But there was something about him and the fight that Eric Dyer had that showed to Jose, like, these guys are willing to fight, and I need those guys around me, because that's the kind of guys that Jose succeeds with. And it's unfortunate that there's something going on bigger than we know or can speak to. But
what do you think the issues are, though? What do you think it is? Because surely there's something going on. What do you think it is? Do you think it's attitude from the players? Do you think it's the manager? Do you think it's the board? Where do you think the issues lie? Because personally, I believe there's problems from all cylinders. I think everyone's got a responsibility. And maybe some parts are not filling that responsibility, if that makes sense. So where do you think it stems from? I think
you touched on it perfectly. In all cylinders of any business, any team, any, us three right here, if one of us is falling off, one of us is not doing what we're expected to do, things aren't going to go as we want them to go. And I think that it's unfortunate I don't want to speak too much about management, ownership, because to me, that's above my pay grade. That's above anything but I do think that there is responsibility on ownership. There's responsibility to Jose. There's responsibility to these players. But to me, if you have a divided locker room, you're never going to succeed. That never works well. Yeah. You've never heard of a championship team in any sport at any level that's like, oh, we had a divided locker room, but we were still able to win it all. And if that's what we want, is to win it all, we can't have a divided locker room. And I think you see it within the fan base too. A lot of people, Jose out, Jose in, support the manager, get him out of here. You know, I understand the expectations of a, large club, but to me, I think you got to trust the management and you got to trust in the process. That's just my mentality.
Yeah.
But I do believe there's responsibility shared throughout all those cylinders that, everything could be tidied up and, hey, maybe we play Champions League football next year and we fix everything. We sign the center. I just like to stay positive.
Very optimistic, my friend. I respect it and I like it, but it's very optimistic. We've got a comment here saying Lloris, Aaron, Skriniar, Roden, Region, Højbjerg, Sabitzer, Son, and Ndombele, Lucas, Kane. I want to see this next season. I understand that, but at the end of the day, Jose Mourinho's got to work with what he's got at his disposal now. There shouldn't be really any excuses. We can talk about players we want, and I actually agree with some there. Like Aaron's is a good player, Sabitzer's a good player, but it's not a transfer window yet. So we've got to deal with what we've got. The manager's got to deal with what we've got, and he seemed happy when the window was over and stuff in the summer. So
he must be all happy at that point.
Yeah, I mean, we all was happy, but it hasn't worked out how it was. But Harry, for now, obviously the season's. I mean, this was so big for me. This game was like, that Aston Villa game kept me a little bit positive, but then this game was almost like not killed the season because we got the cup final. So it's something to look forward to an extent, even though we probably will end up getting slapped. I mean, if we defend like we did today, it's not going to end well, but at least there's something to look forward to. What are you feeling? Because this season now, it's just, for me, it's nearly dead. I'll be honest. I'm just being totally honest.
Yeah, no. So to be honest, over the international break, I looked at where we were, I looked at who we got, etc., and I came to the conclusion that we need to take every game as it comes. Don't look at other teams and how. So the West Brom result was great for us, obviously, but I still thought it's the next 3 points, and you just keep getting those 3 points, and we would have made top 4 if we just kept battling on. Obviously, if we just kept going, looking at our next 3 points, I reckon and we've fallen the first hurdle, and that's the bottom line of it. We've come back from the international break and we've fallen straight on our faces. Obviously, it's compounded by the fact that we've got Chelsea losing to West Brom. That is big. Whatever way you look at it, that would have helped us. But as I say, I was just looking for the next 3 points. I was taking it game by game, and we've fallen by the first hurdle. And as you say, I think whether we want to admit it or not, that's put a massive, massive dent in our top 4 push. And I think it could potentially be the catalyst that keeps us out of that top 4, and it could just leave us, sitting in 5th or 6th. So as you say, I think we're going to be hard pressed to make top 4 now. Really are.
And we've got United next. It's not going to be an easy game.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Newcastle couldn't buy a win in the last couple of months. They played. I'm going to give them their due credit today. They weren't actually bad. They played quite well. We were terrible, but they've been an absolute freefall recently. I know we've had our fair share of bad results, obviously, in recent past, but they've been an absolute freefall. And it's the classic, it always seems to be us. It always seems to be us that breaks someone's life. Every time someone's on a terrible run of form, it's just like we turn up and we don't take the game to them. We should be taking a team like Newcastle by the throat and just going 3 or 4-0, job done, next game United. That should be what it is. It shouldn't be 2-1 in the 80th minute. We should be at least 2 goals ahead in the game like that, and we've just not taken the game to them at all. We've not done what we should have done.
So frustrating. I mean, where do we go from here? Yeah, go on. Go on, Jacob.
Sorry, to piggyback on the point you were making, we do seem to do the there's a team in American football, the Dallas Cowboys, and they remind me of my Tottenham Hotspurs so much, because if you play a good team, you play a great, you play up to your competition. You play a low team, you play down to their competition, and it's always something. There's always something, and I agree. And the 80th minute, it should not be 2-1. It should be, if you do concede the first goal. I mean, we saw in the first 2 minutes, we took it down immediately, almost made something happen in front of goal. Very next minute, they took it down. I mean, horrible left shot right at Lloris, but right there at 3 minutes into the game, I'm thinking, okay, they're clearly on the front foot. We're trying to be on the front foot, and it felt like it was going to be a battle, and I knew that because, no team wants to get relegated. I think that is a huge motivating factor for a lot of people at a club.
Yeah.
And it's a unifying thing. Like we were talking about the locker room. That's a unifying thing. They're saying, hey, we're not championship players. Do you want to play in the championship? Let's fight to stay. And I think that that's a big push, but very unfortunate for Tottenham. Very, very much unfortunate for our top four hopes. Again, I'm positive. Can't tell me we're not going to make top four until we mathematically cannot make top four. But I did want to build some confidence going into that Manchester United game. I thought that would be huge. I felt like Newcastle was a perfect opponent to do that with. I'm still hurting. I still feel like, hey, we can go back out there and finish this thing off, but it's over. I'm still
wishful thinking, man. Wishful thinking.
I know.
We got a comment here saying, "Are you guys Jose in or out?" I don't want to make this sort of review Jose in or Jose out because, albeit it is a topic that needs to be discussed. I don't know where you guys sit. Do any of you have an opinion on this topic or?
For me, I said earlier, I'm always back the manager, Jose in. I mean, if you're a fan of a team, you got to be supportive. You don't love your family and cut your family down just because they've had a rough go, and for me, it's I back him until he shows me that he doesn't care. And you can tell he cares. You can tell this bothers him. It hurts his reputation. It hurts his legacy. And I think he felt that after the Europa knockout. And to me, I'm Jose in at least one more season. Give him another couple transfer windows. Let him weed out the players he doesn't want. Because, he came in with a lot of high-profile players that were, fan favorites. And he didn't like their attitude. They don't play the way he wants to play. And at the end of the day, I think you got to support who your team chooses as a manager until they show you that there's just some kind of something bigger than a divide in the locker room, right? They show you that they're just not capable or I don't know what it is, but
I want to get up some comments from Jose Mourinho post-match. He says, you guys can see that, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So he's a journalist asked Jose Mourinho, in the past, holding on to a lead is what you've been so good at doing. Jose Mourinho replies very swiftly, typical Jose, and says, same coach, different players. Now, where do we sit with what he's saying? Do you agree, Harry? I come to you. For me, he's speaking facts. This is not a Jose Mourinho thing. This is a thing we've seen. How many moments and games under Pochettino as well when the players just can't seem to hang on to these leads, albeit there can be tactics and selection issues or whatever. But surely there's an element out there of responsibility, especially in the last 10 minutes when you've just got to take it to yourself and be leaders out there and just see it out. Where do you sit with this?
Well, these guys are professional footballers. They're 20, 30 years old.
Yeah.
When you play it, they can take it on themselves. There's always a manager going to be there to set up tactics, obviously, tell you how to play, etc. But at some point in the game, you've got to take it upon yourself to be counted and step up. And I think we lack that in latter stages of the game. I think we really do. I think when it gets to the 80th minute and we're one goal ahead and we're thinking, right, we got to hold on here. We've really got to hold on. Irrelevant of the fact that we shouldn't even be in that position, but if we do make it to that position, I think at that point each player needs to look at themselves and kind of find it within themselves to step up. And I think too many times this season players just haven't done that, and I think they've just fallen at the final hurdle in this case, where it's the 80th minute and we've seen it how many times this season. The ball comes into the box, we don't deal with it, and someone ends up with a goal. And I think that does come down to individual quality sometimes, individual lapse in concentration. Jose Mourinho can't clear the ball out of the box.
Yeah,
he can't. At the end of the day, he can't clear the ball.
Mate, he's probably tempted to, and Ledley King probably wants to get his boots on that bench and get on the pitch.
But as I say, when it's situations like that, there's balls into the box that you've got to deal with. No matter what you say, how we set up, etc. If you're Jose in, Jose out, as you say, different day. Players need to take it upon themselves to get that ball out of the box and deal with it. But we just don't seem to have that last 10 minutes with us. We don't seem comfortable defended our own box ever. It's like we're scared of it. We need to be more resolute, but we can just never find. Those last 10 minutes for me are always just an absolute nightmare.
Sanchez is a liability. That's plain and simple. Every time he's out there, is a liability. We saw it with, I'm a Serge Aurier fan myself personally. I like his game, but he's also like that. He's a liability. There's a chance he's going to do something, and I think we're human, right? We're all human. We're all capable of making mistakes. It's just how many mistakes are you capable of making in 90 minutes that ultimately changes the course of our season. I mean, when you say how many times have we seen it, the first thing I think of was when we were up 3-0 on West Ham early on in the season.
Yeah.
And they fought themselves back into that game and came out with a point, and we were highly disappointed. And at that moment I was like, maybe it was just a fluke. Maybe we're okay. The ship's not going to crash, but I think that's kind of a precursor to what we saw today, just an inability to close out games. And I'm here with Jose. I agree. Same coach, different players. You can't clear the ball out. Like you said, he can't play the game for him. He can just coach them and manage the team. And unfortunately, it's just not working right now.
This comment here has just made my day. Özkan says, if games finished in the 80th minute, we would be champions. Mate, we'd be loving it right now.
We'd be winning the Champions League if games were 80 minutes long. I'm convinced of that. As I said earlier, 6 games. I think it's 6 games this season.
Yeah.
We've either, I think the Liverpool game is the exception. That's including this stat, but it was Liverpool game obviously 1-0. We lost 2-1. We've dropped points where we've either been ahead or drawing, specifically in the Liverpool game, and we've got points 5 times. Then let's take the Liverpool game out. 5 times we've been ahead and then gone on to drop points after the 80th minute from conceding. It's laughable. And as you say, if games finished the 80th minute, we would be doing a lot better than this.
Yeah, we would be doing bits, mate. Someone's here just said drop 13 points in the last 15 minutes. I mean that's just absolutely atrocious.
That's an insane statistic right there. I'll tell you that.
That's crazy. Honestly, I don't know what is up with these players and what is going on. But anyway, obviously, as we know, Toby and Aurier were absent today, not even on the bench or anything. Jose Mourinho says not selected. They came to training just yesterday. They were fit, but they reported for training just yesterday, and they didn't make their COVID test in time to be in training on Thursday. Did we lose matches with them, though? I mean, reading Jose Mourinho's comments, it's a job in itself, isn't it? I mean,
he's an absolute.
Surely that's avoidable. I mean, you plan, and you're a professional club. You get their COVID tests on time. I mean, what? I mean, don't they go in the mornings and get their COVID?
This is a multi-million-pound business. Like this is top of the top in this country of businesses. Whether you like football is a business, and the fact that kind of it's how to put it, it's so Spurs of us to do that. Like it just sums us up in a way. You need this is basics now. Like in the COVID world, this is basics. That's one of the first. It is basics, and it's just not good enough. And it just it's annoying more than anything. So it just kind of shows a lack of just understanding of the world we live in right now. So as you say, it's laughable.
Do you know what? I don't buy into this excuse he's making. I think he's just covering something up. I think there's something going on there. Like that's my personal opinion. I don't truly believe that they missed their COVID test and couldn't be in training on Thursday. I feel there's something behind that. I don't know if I'm looking into it too much, but it just seems a bit fishy to me.
No, I'm with you on that. Yeah, it just seems too specific. You know what they say? I watch a lot of true crime shows, and when they interview a suspect, if they're a little too specific, there's something going on there. And I think that he's being oddly specific by saying that they weren't in time for training. They were here, but they didn't make it in time. A little specific. I mean, if they did miss the training, that's highly unprofessional of them. We can't speculate whether they did it on purpose or it's just a lapse of concentration. I mean, I can't imagine what that must be like traveling on international break and then coming back to the club and trying to get your mindset back. We're fighting for top 4. I think that could be difficult for a lot of people. But again, it just shows a lack of professionalism if that is the case, that they missed those COVID tests, because they've been doing it for how long now, and they've kind of been in this process. How long has I don't think the procedures have changed in the middle of the season. So to me, that just shows that one, either a lack of judgment, lack of professionalism, or two, just really something going on there. Like you said.
Yeah, I agree.
That's my personal opinion anyway. I just want to share this stat with the people watching and you guys as well. I mean, this is for me, this is actually embarrassing. Okay, so Newcastle's 17 shots inside the penalty area were the most they've recorded in a Premier League game under Steve Bruce. Like
ever.
Are we this serious? Like, what is? Do you get? It just gets worse and worse when you look into it.
That's tough. That's tough.
The worst thing about that is it shows it's not a fluke. They deserved it. So the Newcastle game early in the season with the penalty. That's a complete, they even changed the handball after that. It was that bad of a decision.
Yeah.
But what that stat shows is they've actually taken the game to us, and we've been so poor that we've allowed that. They've not had 2 shots and scored 2 goals. They've genuinely taken the game to us, and we've allowed that. So I think that highlights how poor we were more than anything. That it wasn't just a one-off to ridiculous goals, and we got drop points unluckily. They deserved it.
Yeah.
From 17 shots inside our penalty area, you deserve 2 goals from that. You deserve points if we don't score.
Yeah. I mean, if that's a Big Six club putting up those kind of numbers, that's a totally different scoreline. We're lucky that it was Newcastle putting up those numbers against us. I mean, still not excusing the fact that we allowed them to shoot the most times under the manager. I mean, I'm still trying to digest that stat. It's like,
yeah.
How long has he been the manager there? I don't know.
Probably about a year. I think it's about a year and a half, maybe even longer. Something like that. Anyway, he's been there for a year.
But this has also been, I take that with a grain of salt, because this has also been a year of, Liverpool hadn't lost at Anfield in X amount of time, and they lost to a relegation team, and I think the COVID thing does throw quite the wrench in the way thing. That's why we've seen these crazy results, and an amazing result yesterday with West Brom and Chelsea. So I think that's why we see these kinds of things, is just the uncertainty, the change of normality, and kind of just getting used to it. That's still unfortunate. Should not be letting that many shots on.
It is embarrassing. I mean, it's hard to digest, like you're saying as well. Comment here: Spurs have the only right back that didn't cross the ball in Tanganga. I love him, but he was covering Sanchez all the time. I think anyone who's playing right back has to cover Sanchez all the time. To be honest with you, is that incompetent? Apparently, it was more than when we lost 5-1. Wow. I mean, that is mad, isn't it? United are going to pattern us up next week as well. I mean, that's a game that I'm not looking forward to at all. I'm really not looking forward to it.
Start Eric Lamela. That's what I say. Start Eric Lamela. Get the shithouse started immediately.
Well, we hope so, but look, we can do all we can do all this and Lamela and stuff, but it's the defense. It really is.
Yeah.
It's just filled with mistakes, and this sums it up really. I miss the old days of Walker, Toby, and Rose. I mean, that was a back four that I had some element of confidence in. You know what to expect. Fullbacks flying up and down, the centre halves stellar. So it's tough. It is tough.
Let me ask you this: with today's result, who do you go with? Who are you choosing in your back line?
Yeah.
I would go left back Reguilon. I don't think Davis is any better than Reguilon, albeit not a great performance today. Let's not get too reactionary with Reguilon. Centre halves, I would go Toby and Rodon. I don't have any faith at all in Dyer or Sanchez. I think they're both as bad as each other. I really do. And the right back, I'd probably say Aurier. But again, albeit from today's performance, I think Tanganga is another promising player. But that would be my back four. So Reguilon, Toby, Rodon, and then obviously Serge right back. Harry, what about you?
I'd agree. I think the only contentious one there, potentially, as you say, is Tanganga or Aurier. But I just think the experience Aurier has does just, and to be honest, his ability going forward. I think Tanganga is competent going forward. I just don't think he has as much ability kind of putting balls into the box as Aurier does, because as hot and cold as Aurier can be, he can put a good cross into the box every now and again. So, but yeah, I think the centre-back pairing does have to be Rodon and Toby. As you say, I don't think we can rely whatsoever on Sanchez. And I wouldn't put Dyer too far above him in terms of reliability either. I think they're both, I wouldn't say the word poor, but I would say they're very inconsistent, and they can sometimes be very poor. Reggie at left back, I'm not a fan of Davis. I don't think he's awful, but I don't rate him too highly. And obviously Lloris in goal. So I think that should be our back four, but I don't know.
This comment here, I mean, it doesn't matter who the back four are, they'll find a way to lose.
Yeah, we can talk about back fours all day long, but
somehow, somewhere.
I mean, somewhere along the line, we've definitely tried that back four. We've mentioned and we've bottled it some. There must be, I don't know the exact game it would have been, but at some point, I guarantee if we looked back, there would have been a situation where that back four's played and we've come out the game after going, oh no, we need to put Sanchez in there or we need Tanganga in there. It is what it is, yeah. Whatever back four you go with, it just seems a bit.
Jacob, where do you sit with it? What sort of back four? Is it something similar? Because
it's similar. I would say the only changes would either be obviously what you alluded to, Harry, the Tanganga right back. I think he shows promise there. I think he frustrates me a lot less over there than say Matt Doherty or Serge Aurier. I feel like he's not as much of a liability to make silly mistakes in and around our box. If he makes a mistake, it usually is just trying to get back on our half, and I think he's a smart player. I think he has a lot of heart and a lot of confidence, and it's hard for me to go against Japhet Tanganga for me personally. I've been a big fan of him since last season. I thought the heart he showed in that Liverpool game, the ability to step up. But I'm also a person, we can't live in the past, right? We got to look going forward and what can he provide? I think a comment that you pulled up that Tanganga would be a better center back than a right back, I don't completely disagree with that. I would like to see maybe even Rodon and Tanganga at the center back and give me Serge on the right. And of course, Reggie on the left. I've never been a Davies on the left kind of guy. I think if you do like a, 3 center backs, I think then maybe Davies gives you something. But with what we have now, I don't think that Davies gives you much.
Do you know what? It's like picking this team is like just picking the best of a bad bunch, other than the likes of. Yeah, it's like other than a few individuals, which is not enough to build a good team. It's just picking the best of a bad bunch.
What I was thinking
the bar is so low. Yeah, go on.
We've just said all those names. We've gone through Davies, Tanganga, Doherty. Any of those players, let's take out Reguilon because we know he's our starting left back. Any of those players, would you put them in City team? No, you wouldn't. None of them are getting into City's back four, are they? At all. Rodon, as much as we may like him, Tanganga, Toby, Aurier, Doherty, any of them, they're not getting anywhere near.
Yeah.
You move down to Chelsea's, again, I probably wouldn't put any of them in there. If you have a fully fit Chelsea team, not getting in there. Liverpool, fully fit Liverpool team, they're not making any of those. As much as we may like these players, and they do have the ability to progress and get better, right now they're never going to win us a title. They're never going to really push on for Champions League late stages. As you say, I do like Rodon, I do like Tanganga. I've got nothing against them. I think they'll be good players. But right now, they're just not the quality that I think we need.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Trying to match the Son, Kane, Bale kind of what they're producing, I don't think they're even comparable. Again, no disrespect to them. I think they will be good players. But as of now, they're not the level that we need.
Yeah,
we need someone for the here and now, and I think that's where we're really struggling.
Yeah, it's been the same conversation for how long now, isn't it? We've just been repeating ourselves. I mean, you could probably go back on a few podcasts of ours, and you probably agree with what we're saying now. It's still relevant. Jensen says Tanganga would be good on the right of a 3. Can't play Rodon and Tanganga both at centre back. You need at least one experienced centre half.
Moving forward, I do agree with that.
What with back 3?
With the previous comment that you can't play Rodon and Tanganga both at center back, you need someone out there with some experience.
Yeah.
But I think at this point, if there is something going on with Toby, and Jose, I think what do you have to lose? Is it going to be worse than what Sanchez and Rodon gave you? Yeah. I think Tanganga and Rodon give you a better chance than Sanchez and Rodon, in my opinion. I think I agree. You're not going to win. We're not going to win much with what we have. You have to sign someone or bring someone or I'm not here to say what we should and shouldn't do to win. But I can say from what we got right now, because there's no transfer window happening before the season ends, to my knowledge. So you got to make apple pie with a couple bad apples, and hope you get the slice of pie that has the good apples when it's all said and done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for me, you just got to figure out what you got. A chef is only as good as the tools he has, and to me, there's some tools. We have some knives. Are they the sharpest? No. But we have Harry Kane. We have Young-Min Son, Tanguy and Ndombele. I mean, we have these guys that can be, helping us make a masterful dish. But instead, we have some Eric Dyers that and a lot of mistakes. It's just there's not communication back there. When you shuffle a line that many times, I think that makes it hard on Hugo Lloris to communicate. I think even in the Villa game, we saw a lot of miscommunication between Sanchez and Lloris. I think that's something that continually happens. And I mean, at the end of the day, if Hugo Lloris is your captain, you can't have guys out there who I think you got to have guys he can trust. And I think Toby is one of those guys. So I do rate Toby very highly. But
Interesting points for sure. I get what you're saying, and it's just so frustrating. And one of my biggest criticisms of Jose Mourinho is that I'm just finding it hard to identify his blueprint and his philosophy here at the club. 1 week we're playing a 4-3-3 with a dynamic attack. Next week we're playing a 4-4-2. 1 week we're pressing. 1 week we're sitting back. I mean, I'm just finding it hard to protect him. I just feel like I've not seen it, and I feel like after a year of managing. After that, I should be seeing good signs and promising signs, but to be honest with you, boys, I'm not seeing it. It's just frustrating. I've got a comment here from Adam, says none of them players start for the likes of Arsenal, Villa. They're really not good. We should have paid up when Benfica had Diaz. Our defense would be 100 times better. Jose has tried every combination / permutation at the back, and they're all bad.
I think that's a very good point. There is that he has. I mean, and you're right to question what he is doing, but he has tried. I mean, we've asked for everything, and he's thrown everything in the kitchen sink at him. And they're right. These players just aren't quality enough to be where I think Tottenham should be and where us fans want them to be. And I understand the frustration and the negativity, but come on, Arsenal, like. You can't tell me they don't. Come on.
I mean, there's some that you can question, but it's hard to back him when there's no clear blueprint. This is my issue really. I mean,
I agree as well.
I try to back him as much as possible, but it is tough, isn't it? It is tough.
Yeah,
I'll be honest.
With me, I've never had Jose in or Jose out. I think they're two kind of polar opposite. I do sit somewhere in the middle at the moment. I think, and the big problem is when Tottenham play every week, we watch them play every week. Let's play on Sunday. On the Saturday, we have no idea if we're going to turn up with a back five, we're going to press, we're going to sit deep. There's no clear ideology at the club of how we're going to move forward and how we're going to progress and build our identity. Pep Guardiola came in, for example. I know he spent all this money and whatnot, but my point is he's come in, he's put his stamp on the City team. He's gone, this is how we'll play, this is how you'll set up, and this is what we'll do. Liverpool with Jurgen Klopp every week, they're going to press high, they're going to press effectively, and they're going to try and kill teams quickly. So I think if there's one thing that Jose needs to do, it's he needs to get an identity and find it fast, or he's going to lose his job over it. And it's just going to be the inconsistency that comes with that fact that we're not playing the same team every week. We're not setting up in the same formation, as you said. We don't know if it's 4-3-3, if it's going in a 4-5-1 or anything like that. It's very difficult to understand.
I mean, that's what I'm saying to you. I mean, I look at the likes of West Ham with David Moyes. They ain't got a better squad than us. I refuse to believe that. But he's got a clear identity, a clear philosophy, and a clear style of play. And the players have bought into it. And that's the difference. The dressing room is almost united a bit more than ours. And that's why I think one of our biggest problems is even with West Brom against Chelsea, smashing 5 past them. I mean, they had a clear vision in mind, a clear style. And they were
Chelsea's number. Yeah, they have Chelsea's number, plain and simple. Earlier in the year, they tied them, 2-2?
Yep.
3-3 it was, wasn't it?
I'm not saying West Brom are great, but you get what the point I'm trying to make. Yeah. Like the identity, at least they're trying a certain way, and you can sometimes hold your hands up and say, you know what, we're trying, but it's not working, but we're going to stick with it, sort of thing.
I think maybe 17 clubs in the Premier League, you can go along with them and give them a clear identity of exactly what football they will play.
Yeah.
You could run down the table from top to bottom. You could say, if they were to play tomorrow, this is how they'll set up. This is this will be their team, given everyone's fully fit, etc. You run down the table, you'll find 75-80% of teams have a clear identity of the way they play. And I think we fall into that 3 or 5 teams that don't have any idea of an exact style of play that we're looking for.
Someone here says, how can you have a blueprint when you can't field a back four that has any consistent / ability to defend? Well, why give the likes of Eric Dyer a new contract then? Why do that?
Exactly. Don't give us the
option. I think because the shitter won Carabao Cup man of the match, I think after that they were like, oh, he might have some potential. He can.
That shouldn't have happened though, but
that's just unprofessional. But
I mean, carry on. Yeah, what was you going to
say? It is frustrating, and I agree with that comment. That how can you have a blueprint? How can you say that, oh, we should be doing this, doing that, when if the blueprint started with an Eric Dyer, like that's the base of your building, right? If you're not building the base properly, the top ain't going to succeed. That's why we see Kane disappear. That's why we see Son disappear in games, and is our foundation falls out from under us. And I think that is a very good point that, if we want to be the team that we expect and hope our team to be, you can't do it with this back four. I think the only one I'd keep would be Reguilon, and Rodon and Tanganga on the bench, and give us a new 3. I think that changes everything. But again, you can only work with what you got, and I think that's what Jose's been doing, is just like, okay, I got this guy. He can run real fast on the right, maybe play a ball into the left, so let's try it. Okay, it didn't work. Now put it back on the left, and we'll try this guy in the center. And he's moving all these pieces around. He's trying. I feel genuinely bad for the guy, because everyone loves Pochettino. Everyone, says, "Oh, Pochettino, how could we get rid of this guy?" And I understand. I'm a big fan of Pochettino, but the thing is, he got fired for a reason. He's not here for a reason. And I think if you just, take away the manager, that doesn't solve the problem of the players on the team and the cohesion in the locker room. And I think that that's a very difficult task for anybody to come in and in a season and a half riddled by COVID, nonetheless, to be able to even say like, oh, a Carabao Cup wouldn't secure his job. I just think that that's a little tough. I saw something come out, I think yesterday, that Levy pretty much alluded to the fact that he's going to be the manager next season. And I'm more of a build up who we have rather than tear them down and build anew, because that's going to take longer than anything, in my opinion. And I think we all want success. We all want Champions League football, and the top of the league was beautiful when we were on top, and it's looking rough now, but we showed that we have an ability, right? We have talent. There's just a few missing pieces, a few people that need to get out of the locker room, whether they're involved in the game plan or not. There's still a toxic energy in the locker room that causes that divide, in my opinion. So you can't just get rid of the coaching and then the problem's gone. That's not how that works. And who have we gotten rid of since we've also got, who also have we gotten rid of since sacking Pochettino? If there was problems for him with some of the players, they're going to still linger around. And, I've been around a few professional locker rooms here in the States, and anytime that there's even one bad apple, it can make the whole bunch get spoiled real quick. So to me, I don't know who it is. I don't know who the people are. I don't want to speculate or throw anyone under the bus, but there's obviously something going on. People are not playing for the shirt. They're not playing for Jose. And like I said earlier in the show, I'm a big guy. You fight for the badge. You fight for your spot, and you fight for the number on the back of the jersey. More importantly, I mean, you're out there for yourself. I don't think any player would just not play unless they absolutely hated the guy. And if that's the case, that's very unfortunate and something needs to be done. But to me, I just think the number and the name on the back of your shirt should mean more than your opinions of whoever you're with that, that causes that kind of negativity.
Yeah. No, I hear where you're coming from. Got a few comments here as well that I'm going to read out. There is no style of football or identity. We rely on Kane's individual brilliance. Jensen says Moyes has revived players like Dawson, who had been relegated last year. Jose is dead to me. We are holding on with the slim hope of winning against City. The final should have been in Feb. Get him gone. No identity, low block, and no Europe. Get him out of my club now. No foundation, no blueprint exactly. You can see there's a lot of players who are not a fan of Jose, and especially was shown when we got knocked down in Europa. I do agree with that. Stu says, I can think about 7 selfless players at Spurs: Lloris, Reguilon, Tanganga, Ndombele, Sissoko, Højbjerg, and Son. The rest are self-interested.
I would never say such a thing about Harold Kane, but that's just me.
Yeah, that's one person I'd say that is added there.
Yeah, I just realised there was no Kane in that list. Interesting. Has Jose done what he was brought in to do? No, we're going to have to get rid of players this summer, so we should have kept Poch and rebuilt with the money instead of giving Jose 15 million a year. So people who are watching as well, let me know what you think of Jose Mourinho. And I don't want to make, like I said earlier, I don't want to make it too much about him, but it's a topic as well. Like, let me know where you think the problem lies. Obviously, we've spoke about players. No one's mentioned the board, actually. No one. That's an interesting one in the comments as well. It's always been Jose players. What about the ball? Because at the end of the day, for me, that's when the foundations and the ambition and the energy stems from. That's my personal opinion. And I think people overlook. Do you remember when Trippier left the club just after the Champions League and spoke about stuff going on behind the scenes? Have we ever rectified that issue? What was happening? We don't know what was going on, but since then the energy's not been right. That's my personal opinion. Don't want to look into it too much, but
no, you're spot on. I think there's a little bit of both there, right? Hindsight's 2020. We could say, yeah, we should have backed Poch. I mean, he even alluded to it, if I'm not mistaken, early on that maybe I should change my job title, right? Because I don't have any say over who comes, who goes. I'm just maybe I'm not the manager here. Like, that's not my job title, and I think that was a very That raised a red flag for me, that something bigger is going on than just the manager or just the players. And we talked about it earlier on the show that kind of all cylinders need to be firing in order for a car to work, right? You don't have 7 cylinders working and 1 not working, the car still move, right? You know what I mean? You're not going to get far anyway. So I think there is something there with the board, with Levy, there's something there that they're not fully buying into the manager, maybe. Who knows?
Tough one, isn't it? It's a tough one. It is.
Almost leaves you speechless because it's I don't want to speculate. I don't want to speak on another grown man's job. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm here to just talk about Tottenham and our players and our game and what I think, and that's kind of where I'm at. So that stuff, like I said, it's kind of above my head and it's almost like politics, right? You don't have too much of a say. You just kind of observe. And
definitely. I think there was a piece written the other day actually by someone from the Spurs web, an opinion piece. I think Seb commented on it. It was Daniel Levy is actually very good at running the club. What he's terrible at is the football side of things. And I think that's where our first breakdown is. I think with what you have with Levy is he is very good at running a business, and no one can deny that. Where we fail is there's not that director of football that links Levy to a Mourinho, Pochettino, whoever it is. I think we need to bridge that divide. And obviously, as you say, I'm no expert when it comes to running a football club. Obviously, none of us are, so we can only speculate on these type of things. But from what I can see and from what we know, I think that we just need someone who is going to take control of those transfers, who knows what's going on. I think Ajax done it with Edwin van der Sar. I think it's them. I'm not too sure. And they've obviously got a brilliant policy. They bring through amazing players. They sell them on. But with us, what I think we need to do is we just need to bridge that gap between manager and chairman, and just get someone right in there who is going to help with transfers, and also just make it a lot easier. Because I think Daniel Levy just has too much on his. He just tries to do too much for himself. I think that's where potentially we might have that kind of breakdown.
Yeah,
and I think that's what hurt so much was the hope that I had built up. Watching the Prime doc, as like, it seems like Levy wants to back this guy. It seems like Levy's a huge Jose fan, and it was like, okay, maybe he didn't fully confidently trust Pochettino, so he couldn't fully back him, but he did have the opinion that Jose was the best manager in Europe, or one of the best managers, one of the top two. Don't quote me on it, but he said he spoke very highly of Jose, and throughout the episodes, you could see he's kind of giddy to talk to him at the breakfast table, and he's kind of, I thought for sure that we would avoid the same thing that we were seeing with Pochettino, where he felt like management wasn't behind him. And who knows, maybe I think Levy's a money guy. I don't think he's a soccer guy. So I think you got to have a soccer guy calling soccer shots. If you have a money guy calling soccer shots, it's going to be financially based. And that's what I think. Honestly, when we signed Gareth Bale, I felt like this was a ploy for me to buy a shirt with his name on it. Yeah. And I mean, you can't go on. From the States, I can't go on to Tottenham's website without getting blasted to buy a shirt, and the first number that always pops up is Gareth Bale. And so to me, it's like, I think he's a great player. I think the history he has with the club is great and it's beautiful, but I mean, he's not the future. If we had a team that could get us into these big type of games, I think he could be an added presence. I just think that it kind of took confidence away in the other players, like Steven Bergwijn, for instance. The man suffered a lot of confidence issues. That's the thing, is I think that once the Gareth Bale signing happened, I think that took a lot of his confidence away, in the fact that, like, hey, I was trying, and I scored against United at Project Restart. I scored against City in my debut. He shows flashes in the pan that get me excited as a fan for our young players. And when we signed him, I was very high on him. I mean, I think that there's a lot of potential there, but you got to have a core. If you don't have a core, your spine's gonna, you're gonna get scoliosis. And so it's just plain and simple. It's very easy. And like you said, we say it every week and after every game. To me, the common denominator is always Davinson Sanchez. I think he's a great guy. I love the number 6 shirt. I'm a big fan of Colombia, but like, he's a liability, like I said earlier. Yeah.
No, I see where you're coming from. I'm going to go through the comments and slowly start wrapping it up as well. You can change the manager all you want. The result won't change. Jose sold Ibra for Milito and Eto'o when he was the mainstay at Inter. Spurs will never be so bold. Dyer, Winks, Dele, Bale, Sissoko, Doherty all need to go. Sanchez too. Talk about Jose here as well. I'm Jose in. You can see that he can do it with the amount of trophies he's won. You can't compare our defense to what Jose has had to work with at other clubs. Give him the defense he wants. I'm sitting on the fence between Jose in and out, but if the players aren't playing for him, it's no different to what they did to Poch. The players have to go first, and if the results stay, then he's it. He's had over a season, and these players have not gotten any better. I'll do that job for free and get a better tune out of these players. He's on 15 million a season. Let's go back to 4-3 wins/losses. This is a Levy talk as well. Levy is a businessman. He's not a chairman. Levy is just like another Woodward. A few more here as well. There's quite a few. And thanks, guys, for everyone who's tuned in. Remember to like and subscribe. A lot of content coming soon as well. Had we even had a halfway decent back four, would be top 4 easy. Jose can't play defense. Bring Ledley back. bring Ledley in. Bring him back.
What have we got to lose?
Yeah,
What we got to
exactly.
do?
Can't be any worse. The style of play is what made us all fans. Now we don't even have that. I'm done. I want a club statement tonight.
Oh,
Damn.
Cool.
Jose
my.
isn't going anywhere. It will cost around
No.
30 million to sack him. Now stop blaming Jose and look at the awful players he's working with.
I think
Similar
that's
point.
the theme. Yeah.
Yeah, it is the theme, reoccurring theme. Doherty, Toby, Sanchez, Aurier, Dyer, Winks, Sissoko, Deli, Lucas, Lamelli. I can't even talk anymore. Lamella, maybe even Berg all have to go, in my opinion. Too much deadwood in this squad. Sanchez should have been replaced after 25 minutes. Today was awful. He did it to Eric Dyer and hooked Dyer against Olympiacos. Why has he not done that since? I was like, yeah, this is what we need. We need a manager who's going to really like kick some players up the butt sort of thing. Did it to Eric Dyer. Hasn't done it to anyone else, really. I'm a bit annoyed at that as well. If we win the Carabao Cup, I'm celebrating like it's the Champions League. Mate,
Oh, yes, brother.
Yes, don't worry.
Emphasize that.
If we win the Carabao Cup, I don't know what I'll do with myself.
I mean, it's optimistic. It's wishful thinking.
Yeah,
but
I don't want to talk
this is what it is. Yeah. Let's not jinx it or anything.
No.
I don't agree with him saying Bergwijn confidence was gone when Bale came, because Bergwijn has had his chance before and hasn't taken it. If we can't get Rodgers or the RB Leipzig manager, let's get Ari back. I loved Redknapp. I loved Redknapp. Honestly, it was fantastic. It was
a good time in our lives, wasn't it?
Yeah, that squad was fantastic as well.
Do you mind if I talk about the previous comment you highlighted?
What is this, the Bergwijn conversation?
About Bergwijn?
Go ahead. Yeah,
he's a young man, right? And he's from the Netherlands. He played in the Netherlands, and he came to the best league in the world, and playing for a top 6 club. And on his debut, he scores. So I'm saying all this to build up the fact that, he's such a young man. And if I can remember when I was 20, 21 years old, if I had scored in my debut for a top 6 club in England, I mean, that's almost, where do you go from here except down, right? Unless you're putting hat tricks up every game. But realistically, that's not going to happen. And for me, yes, I agree. He has had the chances to perform. We saw in the Liverpool game, there was 2 chances that, in my recollection, that he should have put away. But we're human, right? He's just as much a human as we are. And to me, that will mess with you. Now you're not looking so hot. You didn't do so good. And now he's disabling comments on his Instagram. Like, there's clearly something going on with Steven Bergwijn that was affecting him personally. And you see that on the pitch. You know what I mean? Not everyone is a robot that can, shut off completely when they're on the pitch, and to me, I think he's such a young guy with such a high potential, that the lack of his confidence isn't. I don't think he should get off the team. There was a comment you also highlighted that showed maybe even Berg should be off the team. To me, I think if you want to do the quote unquote rebuild or play the kids, so to speak, he's a young guy with a lot of potential. He's shown that he can go out there and score against a top club. Yeah. And so he has that. It's just a confidence issue. And I mean, if I'm 21 and you bring a club legend back to play in my position, to me, that tells me, like, dang, what did I do wrong? Right. What did I do that gave you the lack of confidence in me? Was it a football decision, or was it a bit that kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier? Is it a ploy to sell shirts, or was it because we thought Gareth Bale would help us get to where we wanted to go? But I think that messes with a young person, a young adult.
No, certainly it does. His confidence has been shot this season. I mean, I can't sit here and protect his record. I think it's 20 odd games, no goals. He's had chances for me. But I'm not going to sit there and abuse him and go on his Instagram and start saying stuff to him, because that's just not going to help in any way, shape or form. And I just feel like next season, fresh pre-season, get some minutes under his belt, put him back in that team, and hopefully his confidence does rise again, because we know the quality he does possess. So certainly an interesting topic, Bergwijn. It could go on for much longer than this, but
there's a comment that I think fills into the theme of today's show. We had Bale, Winks, and Deli smiling, joking. I did see that as well. Yeah, that they were all smiling, joking. On the only one who wasn't was Heung-min Son and
Scarlett, I think.
Yeah, Scarlett. I don't think I've ever seen Scarlett smile, to be completely honest. But that just shows kind of where their head is at. I mean, there was another game that they showed Gareth Bale. He's shooting the shit with Joe Hart, and like to me, I'm sorry, if I'm a sub, I'm watching the game to see what I'm going to do if I get my chance.
Yeah,
that's my opinion. I'm not a professional footballer, but I think that is the theme of what we've been talking about, and the problem with the club is that. I mean, I think just players aren't taking it seriously. They don't seem like they give a shit. Excuse my French, but I just don't. I don't think that they do.
No, this is a topic we could talk about for hours and hours and hours and hours. But I think we're going to wrap it up slowly here. First of all, Jacob, thanks for joining us. Obviously, you do stuff with United Spurs of America. Let them know where they can find your podcast and stuff as well.
So me and my buddy Michael, we just recently launched our American-based Spurs theme podcast. So we're looking to engage more at You Spurs of A. Again, the title of the podcast, you can find us YouTube, Spotify, Patreon, RSS.com. We're on all platforms. We're looking to engage more. Like I said, we just started. We did our first episode after the Villa game, took a long international break. Got the chance to link up with you guys, and of course enjoyed my time, and I enjoy any interaction, good or bad, because any interaction is good interaction in my opinion. So I appreciate you guys having me on again. The Twitter handle at You Spurs of A. You could just search United Spurs of America on YouTube, Spotify. You should be able to find us. Appreciate anyone listening, and anyone who agrees or disagrees. I appreciate it all.
I'll put his Twitter link in the description as well. So if anyone wants to go and check out their stuff, feel free. Of course, Harry Webster does great articles for the Spurs Web, opinions, but good opinions. I like them. That's why he's on the show. People can find your stuff on the website, right?
Yeah, it's all there. So obviously, if you ever see it, just if you fancy it, have a read through. Let me know what you think. And obviously, it's been a pleasure on, and nice to get involved with the comments and everyone tuning in.
Yep. Great. I love this comment. Great chat, lads, and some great points made. We'll be coming back from now. Thank you very much. Really appreciate this.
Thank you.
Smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already. Of course, myself, I'll be going live on my channel at 6:30 as well. So if you want to come join, there'll be further discussion on today's game, other topics as well. But other than that, make sure next week we'll be here as well. Midweek, hopefully we'll have another interview for you guys sorted as well. Fingers crossed. But remind yourselves to stay posted on our socials for all news and about the streams and stuff as well. But other than that, it's painful. It's hard today. But up the Spurs.